without further ado, after, a little bit of technical difficulties, welcome to fucking week 7 of the Hail Mary Happy Hour podcast. Today we are here with our guest of the episode is Steve Wood, but Tyler is going to be stuck at work, and additionally, his apartment does not yet have Wi-Fi. So if he was here, he was going to be on his phone. It's probably fine that he is not here. Instead, we have my co-host as Sam Losh, a previous guest on the show, that will be supporting us here on this episode.
It's me, Tyler Main. What's up, everybody?
Yes.
What does Tyler say? Does he have a catchphrase?
Yeah, he's a zippity.
Yeah, I believe that was it right there.
So yes, welcome to week 7. This is seemingly the Sigma cast. We have all the Sigma Pies in the league during this one, and that is fitting because this episode is actually sponsored by Chad Underhill, who gave me a golf ball and asked me if he could sponsor the podcast for it. So thank you, Chad.
Can we see the golf ball? Do you still have it?
No, I smacked it into a river. So.
Oh, dang. It was liquid.
Yeah, happens. So, without further ado, honestly, a kind of lame week in football. Kind of low scoring by wide receivers, quarterbacks. Russell Wilson was the top scoring quarterback until tonight, where now Lamar Jackson is lighting it up.
Yep, it's another passing touchdown to Derrick Henry as we speak.
Wow.
Yeah, they are
Lamar.
killing it.
Man, imagine who has him. Probably the guy that thought really hard about his team.
Yeah.
Mr. Victor,
Victor
Zanardi,
QB's 1 and 2. Although Victor's team did take a hit today because it looks like Baker Mayfield did go down with an injury.
I think he's back.
I can check.
I'm pretty sure
Is he back? Okay. Never mind. Victor's
Yep.
still at the top.
You know whose team did take a hit?
Mm.
This guy.
That's
That's a second receiver out for the year, baby. Brandon Ayuk went down with an ACL.
Yeah.
Good fortune keeps going. Mark Andrews throwing touchdowns. So, Steve, you're probably happy about that.
He's looking good for me.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
I have this theory that I'm a little bit of a tight end whisperer this year. And I don't know if anyone else has picked up on that.
Cole Kmet. Mark
But
Andrews.
I do have the tight end 3, who is also a top 3 Cole in the league.
Yeah.
Not by any mistake.
Absolutely.
Just picked up Mark off the waivers.
Yeah.
He has 18 points so far.
Yeah.
And the Hawk is coming back in 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to be, let's call it tight end 1. Why not?
Sure. Why not?
So, I don't know. I'm feeling good about my tight. I think I identify with the tight ends the most.
I feel like you'd probably play it. You could play a tight end. You're a bit,
Looks like a tight end.
Tall guy.
Yeah.
Got some build to him. I see it.
That's what I like to think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I've got Ferguson now. I picked him up after Slosh dropped him. I'm hoping that I can get a similar luck. That I'm a lover scorned from Mark Andrews. Maybe I can find a new love. And
Yeah, I'm assuming you had
this year. Just let me know.
Dude, I fuck Mark Andrews. By the way, a reminder that Sam, who Mark Andrews might give you the win over Sam was my upset of the week. So Mark Andrews might just consider fucking me.
Oh, interesting. Well, on the plus side, Marvin Harrison has 2.5 points right now.
Yep.
So
Big Marv guy. Love that Marv guy.
I think you're good.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep this episode a little shorter because I'm gonna record again with Tyler for some of the, later stuff, his gambling corner. I'm probably even gonna let some of these games play out before I do my Mr. Big Guy and Bedshitter of the week. So we're gonna save those, but to go through a little news and notes around the league, get through all that. First of all, most important, it is Browns time, baby. Did they lose? Yes. Did I put money on them winning once a certain someone left the field? Yes. Did I lose that money? Yes. But is it okay? Yes. Because
Let's just remember, the Browns are the big winners of the week. No matter what anybody says.
Browns are the biggest winners of the week. The return of Nick Chubb, possibly, one of the most beloved guys in football. He can squat like a motherfucker and great runner of the
Heart of
ball.
gold.
But on the flip side, we also lost the Dark Lord today. he Deshaun Watson went down with an Achilles tear, out for the season for the third year in a row, I believe. And
Is that the third year in a row? Whoa.
so I did a little research into one. So Steve, you've had a rough last few weeks. Highest scoring in a loss. I think there's a curse to Deshaun Watson because last year, you know who drafted Deshaun Watson? This guy right here.
That was me.
And
Yeah,
you ended up in
and
the
I-
toilet bowl.
I did end up in the toilet bowl. I think I think I dropped him by then because again he went out for the year with an
Well,
injury.
you dropped him on November 15th.
Whoa.
Yes.
What did I do after November 15th?
Who knows?
Not lose the toilet bowl.
So yeah, maybe there's a curse to,
I think there is.
bad voodoo for drafting Deshaun Watson because
Yeah.
he's a jerk.
There could have been. There may have been.
Maybe.
However, I picked him in the 11th round. So,
You still took him.
as a
Still
keeper in the keeper league, there's still some value there. That's all I want to get out there. Still not the worst pick I could have made.
So
All right, write that down.
So, hold on, just to be clear, you're hoping.
So if anyone, as I said before, DMs are open. If anyone would like a solid keeper
And you're-
QB2 option for next year.
If not, you're hoping to keep him for another year.
Would you consider keeping him?
I personally would not. However, I think that's
Ah.
a very viable strategy for any potential league managers out there.
He's selling. I
Need,
respect the hustle.
I will take Deshaun
Leadership.
Watson for just one of your fourth round picks. Just one fourth round pick.
Make it a third.
Deal. All right.
All right, pleasure doing business. It's been an honor being
Pleasure.
on the
I'll
podcast.
send you the trade it later. But Deshaun went down. Everyone in this league knows that I'm a Brown supporter. Am I a fan? Maybe. But man, I really want them to do well. And
Would you say you're more of a fan after this past week?
dude, I am equally I've been equally a fan. This year I have told people that I was off the Browns for now. Until Deshaun was off the team, I could not support the Browns, and so I have been on the Commanders bandwagon. I have money on them to win the Super Bowl.
Love the Commanders.
Let's go,
Everybody's loved the
baby.
Commanders.
Who Mariota lit it up with Jaden Daniels out. But I honestly, like, we watched the Patriots game together with Drake May slinging it.
Mhm.
We got so excited. We fist bumped. We
Yeah.
chest bumped. We hugged. When I watched the slow-mo of Deshaun Watson falling to the ground, I was equally as excited
Oh my gosh.
as watching a 60-yard touchdown by Drake May. I
That's
was
crazy.
so happy. And then Nick Chubb scored a touchdown afterwards. I was on cloud nine. And then Ayuk went down for the season and all that. But that doesn't matter. My team's dead. But the Browns, they live. And we don't need to talk about the Patriots this week.
Yeah, we don't talk about the Patriots. The first quarter though looks great.
Hey, that was awesome. And then
Before we pivot away from the Browns, can I tell you two stories, one good and one bad, about
I-
these beloved Cleveland Browns?
I would love to hear them.
Steve, which one do you want first, the good or the bad?
I would love to hear the good.
Great. All right, so Nick Chubb. We love Nick Chubb.
Yes.
You reminded me of this earlier. You know why we love Nick Chubb so much? Not only does he squat like a motherfucker, not only does he run like a motherfucker, he is also might have the most tragic backstory of anybody in the entire league.
This is
And
the good.
you should root for him winning every single week.
Mhm.
The story with Nick Chubb is that him and his two siblings, his two younger siblings, bounced around the foster home for a very, very long time until a family came and was willing to adopt them. However, they only had space in their home for two. And so Nick Chubb said to his siblings, "You guys go get a home. I'll stay here." So Nick Chubb stayed in the foster system, and then eventually became the age where he could like live in his car as an adult, and then he lit it up playing football in college, and now he's here in the pros.
By the way, this was
So,
at the
like-
age of 12 that he made that decision.
Yes, correct.
At 12, he said,
12.
"You guys go get a family. I will stay." So,
And that's the reason why you should root for Nick Chubb.
yeah, you should love Nick Chubb, and you should be happy Deshaun isn't there to tank. Like, the Browns have gone to the least likable team to the most likable team by per capita of person on the field in a matter of a quarter of football.
Oh yeah,
Nick Chubb
and
is a champion.
he is a champion. And here is your bad story, centered around nobody other than Deshaun Watson. It was rumored that Deshaun Watson wasn't putting in the work between games that people have to do. And so the Cleveland Browns gave him his game tape of the week to review, but they purposely gave him blank tapes.
Wait.
And then they were like, "Hey, Deshaun, how'd watching tape go?" And he was like, "Yeah, great. I really feel good about this week." And they were like, "What the fuck?"
That happened. That
Yeah.
that happened with That's happened before in the league.
I'm not shocked.
With
I mean, Kyler Murray has a COD clause in his contract.
That's different. Kyler's awesome. He's great.
And he got sponsored by
he's
COD.
sponsored.
So,
Jamarcus Russell, drafted by the Raiders, known as the greatest draft bust of all time,
oh yeah.
did the same thing. And I believe Deshaun Watson is one of the first quarterbacks to reach that poor of numbers.
Yeah.
Deshaun sucks. He's so bad.
hmm
But he could turn it around next year, so trades are open.
Yeah, sorry. Hey, but if you want to bet, if you're a big Darth Vader guy, you rooted for Voldemort.
He's your guy.
Hey,
It's a certain kind of person.
he's open. Yeah, hey, they're out there. But okay. Aside from the Browns, they've taken enough time. They filled our hearts. God bless. But a few other
Bless
things.
this nest.
Like I said, Ayuk out for the season. That's rough. Jaden Daniels had a rib injury. Mariota went off. Rib injury doesn't seem too bad. There are a few other injuries. Metcalf went down, etc. Honestly, it hasn't been too bad. Although Deebo Samuel has pneumonia.
Yeah.
So the 49ers
I
are
got-
just falling apart.
Yeah, I got Shanahan really hard this week because there was no
Yeah.
injury report around Debo. I
he's a
started
little
him.
sick.
He
No.
played 4 snaps, left for the whole game.
Yep. And then we have the fact that in that same game, the Chiefs, now the last undefeated team, I don't know how they're doing it. Truly. They don't look that good. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look that good,
No.
but they're just doing it. So fine. Kareem Hunt, great pickup by you, Slosh.
Thanks,
I mean-
bud.
Yeah. He's a lot better than I expected.
He doesn't need to be good. He just needs to run behind.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good O-line. They always get into the red zone.
And they just
They
keep
get
using
ahead.
him.
They get ahead in the game script. That's just that's all she
Somehow.
wrote.
But yeah, and then, like I said, rough week for quarterbacks generally. We have Lamar Jackson is lighting it up right now. The Monday night games are still going on. Maybe one's
Yep.
gonna end soon, but yeah. And a couple more notes, Steve. One, are you looking like you're gonna win your matchup or lose your matchup? Because that's pretty important. One big no.
I'd say it's 50-50. No, it's not 50-50. I would say I need a touchdown.
You need a touchdown.
Either Marv or Mark
All right.
in the
well,
remainder of their games.
Okay,
I'm
I
down
got my
by
eyes.
5 points.
we'll see if that happens. Because if you do not win this week, one, Sam's my upset of the week, so I would get that, and two, you would become last place in the league. You're going to be the new last if you lose this week after a 4-game lose streak, I believe.
I know, which is I like my team. Like
It's
I
kind of
still
a-
feel good about my boys.
That's good.
It's kind of a
Even
fraudulent.
though we will
It's kind
be
of a
the worst team
fraudulent
in the league.
last.
It is. I mean, keep in mind he's
That's what I
been-
believe.
Steve, I will be going over the down bad manager of the week, which is Steve because he should have been it last week. If anything, honestly, Steve should have
Yeah.
been it last week, and I should be it this week. Because last
I
week
would agree.
Steve had gone 3 weeks in a row being the top scoring loser, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. And this week I have two wide receivers that are out. Two of my top wide receivers that are out for the year, and continue.
Yeah.
Like my team is dying.
Well, it'll just be like the NBA when Jokic won the MVP, Embiid should have won the MVP, and then the next year Jokic should have won the MVP, and then Embiid won the MVP.
That's what
so,
it is.
You know,
We're both
Exactly.
MVPs in
tomato
that way.
tomato.
So, I'm gonna be saving the fucking shit fuck bed shitter of the week. I'm gonna be saving the big man. I could probably go over them, but I'll give Tyler some reactions. We'll be recording a little thing for people that missed Tyler on Wednesday. But in the meantime, honestly, let's just jump to our main segment of the week while we have our guest Steve, which is Steve. Your goal
Yes.
for the rest of this episode,
Yeah.
as our pseudo Brit,
Pseudo.
yeah,
A solid 50% Brit. Not pseudo.
I'm going with pseudo Brit. On this show, we're going with
Okay.
pseudo Brit because I kind of like the sound of it.
Cool name.
Okay.
I think
You're the host.
I think pseudo Brit is a cool sounding name. But Steve,
Okay.
you're probably the least football fan of anyone in the league.
Oh, I have to imagine by quite some distance.
Arguably, you should have just auto drafted compared to how you're doing now. Just based on the fact that
I like my team. I like my team.
I get it.
They're
But
a fun team.
keep in mind
They're
the
good
only
ones.
person that auto drafted is the one winning the league.
I will grant you that.
So, Victor, fuck you. I do know he listens, by the way.
Great.
So, he's paying attention. Somehow. Yeah, Victor, if you listen to this, comment down below. Fuck you guys. I'm here. Prove it.
Nice.
But you do follow soccer. You follow the football.
I do.
Me and Sam don't, and personally,
No.
I don't see any reason to. So I'd
you-
like
do
to
you-
be convinced.
Josh, do you want to give a little primer on how much we both know about soccer?
Actually, I have a very good primer,
Great.
which is 2 nights ago, I was in a game of Kings, pulling a card, get it, and categories came up, and the category of soccer players came up.
Dude, boy, that I would not be able to
Yeah,
do that.
I was third, and I made
Okay.
it because Messi went first, Ronaldo went second, and I, someone who watched the movie Kicking and Screaming with Will Ferrell a lot as a kid, remembered Pele.
Really? Yeah, there you go.
Very nice. Very nice.
That was the last one. I could not
Whoa.
have named
Okay.
a fourth player.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how many of those even still play. I know Pele doesn't.
No, he's dead. You could have gotten one or two more. You could get like David Beckham.
Yeah,
there's
David
like there's a
Beckham,
few that
So-
have like become general.
No, you would
Kylian
think-
Mbappe.
have
Mbappe
no idea
being
who
like
that
the
even
richest
is.
guy.
Yeah.
You don't know who Mbappe is?
No.
Okay.
And honestly, if it came to me and I didn't have Pele, I had forgotten about Beckham in my drunken panic. I would have thought of him like with time, but Beckham didn't even come to mind. That's how much I don't know nor care about football. Hope Solo, she was
That's a
someone,
good one.
Yeah.
She was.
But-
They had a little squad there for a while.
Yeah.
Hope,
See the thing
Alex
is,
Morgan,
There you go.
a few others.
Okay. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So I just want to ask you, our pseudo Brit. Why? What's the deal?
What's up with that little round ball?
Why do I like soccer?
What's up with that?
Well, first, Sam, do you have a little Genesis story explaining
Oh, right.
how and
Oh,
why
yeah.
you don't like soccer? I would love to get as much insight as possible
I don't.
before I
I am.
make my argument.
I would say I'm kind of soccer curious. You know.
Ooh.
Um,
Mm.
I love sports. I followed is like a bunch of sports for my whole life. Never really got into soccer. I actually was just down in Pennsylvania watching my future sister-in-law's final college soccer game. Or not, sorry, not final, but it was her senior day. But she kicks ass. Um, and the game ended. Really, really enjoyed the game. And here's kind of a sticking point that you're gonna have to get me past, Steve. So here's your challenge: is I was really enjoying this game. It was super intense. Then it came down to the wire, and it ended in a 1-1 draw. And I was like, man, where's that song? I was enjoying it, but like, how do I feel resolved? Um, but I feel like I have a little bit of a passing knowledge. I get into it when the World Cup comes around. I get into it with like the Olympics and all that good stuff. But in general, don't follow MLS, Premier League, La Liga, anything like that. So
All right, that's interesting. In terms of the draw, I would recommend international soccer to you, because
okay,
most of those games, especially once you get into the knockout rounds, will not end in a draw. You'll go to a penalty shootout, which I think is the most exciting thing in
oh,
sports.
PKs are
A good
cool.
old-fashioned penalty
PKs are so
shootout.
cool.
I can see
They're
that.
so cool, as is one of the highest pressure spots a player can be in. You have to walk half the length of the field all by yourself to go take that kick.
That's awesome.
It's incredible to watch. And I would say in general, I actually do like the fact that there are draws because it gives bad teams something a bit more attainable to play for.
Okay.
So, for instance, if you're watching the Premier League, right, it is, I guess, similar to a sport like baseball, a league where there's no salary cap. So, if
Hmm.
you've got this huge team, and there's kind of like six really big teams, the two Manchester teams, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs kind of like hang on there a little bit.
Can
If you're
you
one of the
Tottenham
little
Hotspurs.
clubs,
can you
you fuck those
explain
guys.
leagues quick? Like we have a Premier League.
Yeah,
What
so
are these
there's
leagues? You know?
Yeah, so there's different leagues in different countries. So the top flight of the English league is called the Premier League. Top flight of the Spanish league is La Liga, Germany Bundesliga, so on and so forth. Within those leagues, there's a hierarchy, right? So Premier League is like top of the English football pyramid. After that, if you get relegated from the Premier League, so if you like suck during the season, say you're the Browns, and you have this shitty little quarterback who tears his Achilles, and you stink. You don't get the first draft pick. You get the fuck out of the league.
Yeah.
They say we don't want you. You're gone, and you don't get the $100 million for being in the league. So you get knocked down to what's called the championship. If you get relegated out of the championship, you go down to English League One, English League Two, and you
Gotcha.
can work yourself all the way down until you are just some little local county team.
Does anyone
So what's cool
watch
about
the
that?
championship?
Yeah. Way less than the Premier League. It would typically be if you support a team that's actively in there.
Is that like Woo
But it wouldn't be
Sox?
like-
Is the Woo Sox that like a championship?
Yeah, the
level?
Woo Sox would be like a good equivalent.
All right.
So like we would watch Woo Sox games because we're from Worcester. Good game, good time. If I supported a team in the championship, I would watch the championship. Good game, good time. But it's also cool because you can go way the hell down. So for example, my dad's from Boston, England, which is this. It's like Worcester 30 years ago, like a manufacturing
Up
town
and
that
coming.
lost all the
Up and
manufacturing and shipping. Yeah, yeah.
Up and
Up
coming
and coming is a
forever.
stretch, but
Up and
forever.
coming for
Becoming is a
30
stretch.
years, and it will be for another 30.
highest murder rate in England, Wales. Highest obesity
Oh,
rate in
yeah.
all of England.
So it's
could not
exciting
recommend
and
it enough.
comfortable. Cool.
It's America, England.
It's America.
I could not recommend it highly enough. It's a beautiful. If you want to feel at home abroad, go to Boston, England. It's beautiful. But they have their own soccer team in the 5th division of English soccer now. They suck. They are like a shitty team. But they have their full ass stadium, and in theory, if they did really well
They
for
could-
5 years in a row, they could be in the Premier League playing the best players in the world. So that's actually happened before, where a team has moved cities. So say the Rams go from St. Louis to LA.
Oh,
St.
he's
Louis
got
is fucked
football.
without a team.
He's got some football knowledge.
Imagine, yeah. Well, it's funny because the guy who owns the St. Louis Rams owns Arsenal, and I fucking hate that guy. So that's why. Fuck the
hilarious.
Broncos. Fuck
I
that
didn't know
guy.
that.
Yeah.
But say St. Louis Rams move to LA, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone in St. Louis says, "Oh shit! Well, we don't have a football team anymore." They could just start their own football team, and if they're good, they could get to the NFL, which has happened in English soccer. There are teams that just got started by like a group of dudes. Specifically, the MK Dons team got, or I think it's Wimbledon. It's one of the two. Got started after their team got relocated, and they worked their way up over the next like 15, 20 years, and are now higher than the original team was.
Wow.
So I love the promotion relegation system. You
I
don't
That is-
get tanking because you just lose hundreds of millions of dollars and it stinks.
that's fair.
And I like the fact that it's this permanent kind of David and Goliath. So, whereas in the NFL, it's got this cyclical nature where, the Pats were good for like 15, 20 years, right? And that's kind of unheard of. That's like a very long streak in the NFL of
Yeah.
being good,
Yeah.
and now they suck. But most teams go on like an arc of
Whoa.
like up and down and up and down
It's Drake
to
May
some
season,
level.
to be clear. Like we're
So
on
this
our
is
way.
what I didn't even know it was Drake May season.
See, yeah,
This is
no,
how
that's
little I
okay.
know about the sport. I was completely
Yeah.
unaware.
It's Drake May
No, but
season. We did lose.
I know
to
what you're
One
saying.
of the worst teams, but
Yeah.
There's no
I-
way.
I know what you're saying though, Steve, where it's like it's
Yeah.
really hard for a team to be really bad for a really long amount of time and vice versa as well.
Exactly.
It's just
You're
how,
gonna
like-
draft picks. It's gonna.
It's just
Work
how like
itself
the
out.
49ers last year were just soul crushing and now it feels like their dynasty has already collapsed.
yeah,
Exactly.
real quick.
I like the fact that soccer teams go on these dynastic runs
Yeah.
pretty often, and also when you have two teams that like really have history, like the Patriots and the Jets was probably interesting for like what 4 years, I'm guessing, for like a bit, even though that's
Maybe.
one of our bigger rivals. And those
So
two
the
Sanchez
problem
years
is
way
that
back in the
the-
day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A little bit. The problem is the Jets have been
Okay.
really bad for a really long time.
Yeah, and that's not changing, based on
No.
last game. Who losing
Yeah.
to Russell Wilson, just fitting a little.
Exactly.
Football
I know what you mean with all these
But
these
yeah.
rivalries. I think the Peyton Manning Broncos is a great analogy. We
I-
hated those guys.
I will say, as far as that, like, upgrade, downgrade, promotion, demotion, I do like that. And I think that's something that comes with a sport that's so old.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the NFL started officially, the NFL is 60s. Like, the sport existed beforehand, but I think the NFL might have been started in the 60s, like the
Sounds
first
good to me.
Packers, Lombardi, Super Bowl. But I think something like that, I mean, it would be very cool. But on the macro level, I don't know that I agree with no salary cap. That's the thing. I don't like,
So there is a kind of tempered salary cap where a team, in theory, shouldn't be able to spend more than it brings in revenue. So this does mean that like certain teams, say Arsenal, right?
yeah,
We are one of the biggest teams in England. We have a big stadium. We sell a shitload of jerseys, get big TV rights, all that stuff. So we generate a lot of revenue. We spend a lot of money on players. There's currently some controversy with another team where they may or may not be owned by a Saudi billionaire who's been pumping in money,
Oh.
potentially under the rules, and they maybe are biggest rival right now. So fuck those guys as well.
Dang.
They might have committed financial crimes against soccer, the likes of which we've never seen. I believe they have
Wow.
136 charges against them right now, and we'll see where those go. But I do
Interesting.
understand your point about the salary cap. It does create somewhat of an uneven league.
yeah.
But what I think that offers is the chance for even greater upsets that there are in the NFL. And I'll use
Yeah.
10 years ago Leicester City as an example of this shitty team, low salary cap. They had barely escaped relegation the year before, and they went on to win the league against teams with like 15, 20 plus, or 20 times their yearly budget.
Oh.
So it does give that same kind of like, well, the Oakland A's can get to the World Series if they play their cards exactly right.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's kind of good for the sport, where you have these established kind of
You
big
have the bad
teams,
guys,
dynastic teams.
Sort of.
You have the bad guys, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have these big dynastic teams, and you've always got these plucky underdogs to root against them. And every year there's going to be a couple of those teams that do really well against the odds,
Okay.
which I think makes it a more fun experience. I would compare it to the NBA over the last 6 years, where there hasn't been a repeat champion. I don't think there's been repeat final performances in the NBA. And in theory, that sounds great. I think in practice, it's created a real lack of vibe around the finals. And the finals have less aura than they have since the Warriors-Cavs finals, which were a shitload of fun, even as someone who didn't like either of those teams.
That was some
Yeah, I
solid
think-
lingo.
Very solid
And
lingo.
the
I think
aura of the finals. Love that.
I think
I- The aura is shot.
we really complained about like 5 years of Warriors Cavs finals, but those are still like the highest rated finals in the past decade or like ever, something like that.
And
People watch
they
it.
were incredibly fun to watch, especially those
Yeah.
first three were incredibly fun to watch.
course,
Or
yeah.
first two, I guess. They're
Yeah.
incredibly fun to watch. And part of that is because the players keep going against each other in the highest
Yeah,
stake
it's
matches,
history.
and they hate each other by the end of it,
Yeah.
which
It's
is
sad.
happening in soccer all the time. Because you
Yeah.
get these players who are constantly going for the title year after year. They don't like each other. And you get a bit more of the genuine dislike, I think, than you do in some other sports.
Yeah. It really sounds like soccer's in it for the long haul, whereas American sports are kind of like instant gratification.
This is, as the pseudo Brit, that is how I would describe it as well.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, admittedly, you've convinced me on the macro. On the
Mm-hmm.
okay, salary cap. I can see how that. I already thought the demotion promotion was nice. But the real thing that gets me is watching of the sport. Soccer is not an interesting sport to watch, personally.
Mhm.
So, on the smaller scale, on a game-to-game scale, why is it worth it? On
To
a player-to-player
me, what I
scale,
think,
we could say.
on like a single game basis,
Yes.
we'll say. One, just to take it off the field one last time, I think the crowd atmosphere in soccer is the best in all of sports. You get 60 to 100,000 drunk Brits in a stadium, and you give them something they're passionate about. The creativity that comes out of those people's mouths, it's incredible. The chants, the songs, they're beautiful, they're rude, they're a delight. So I think that the stadium atmosphere is ridiculous. And you'll even see, I think it's all European sports, because you'll see like basketball games in Eastern Europe where they're like setting off flares and they've got those crazy chants and shit going, and it's sick. It's dangerous as fuck. My dad has told me stories about when he would go to soccer games as a kid. It was like, yeah, they used to like lob bar darts at us over the fence. I think they just broke his friend's leg one time. Crazy shit back in the day. Crazy shit. That's been tapered off a little bit. But I think on the field, what I love about it is, and I guess it probably contrasts football the most of any sport I can think of, which may not convince you to watch it. But to me, football is this kind of chess match happening every single play. So every single play is a chess match of, I think they're going to do this, I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
they don't do this, I have this counter, etc., etc.
It's a very cerebral
Soccer-
like, play v play. Yeah.
Exactly, but at least from my perspective, it feels like a lot of that is coming from coach and quarterback, at least on the offensive end, and then defense, I assume it's coach and certain key defenders.
Yeah.
You have like a defensive
I like the
captain that
fact-
calls plays.
Yeah. I like the fact with soccer that is happening continuously, and every player needs to know how to react to certain situations. So I love the fact that they're not sitting down, they're not getting that time to think after every play. You need this off the cuff, really fluid movement. And so I think what happens sometimes is that it doesn't pan out as often because you don't have time to like sit down and think about it. You're just going off of instinct and what you practice on the training ground. But when it comes off, I think it is the most aesthetically beautiful sport in the world when it comes off. Because it's just this collection of guys working in unison, completely off the cuff, stringing stuff together.
Mm.
I love that aspect of it, and I love the like individual expression that it allows, which I think is most similar to basketball,
Yeah.
where one player has a certain style that's so obvious when you watch them, and really any style kind of works if you're good enough and you can make it work within the team. So you can't really have like a lazy football player. You can have a fucking lazy soccer player. You can have a dude who mostly just kind of stands around, but if that works with his style of play, that works. So I love that you can have these high energy bustling guys who are just running back and forth. You have these like real genius players who kind of like Brady, maybe not that mobile, but they can like pick out anything they need to at any point and just play the right pass. And you also have certain dudes who will do the same thing. They're just lazy. They have like a languid style of play that you don't see in other sports, but I think is so cool to watch. This guy who like is just doesn't even look like he's really trying, but can pull off the craziest shit in the world if he wants to. I love that.
That's cool.
See, yeah, I can see that, and I can understand. I agree. You can't really have. Well, Kyle Pitts is kind of lazy, but
Capitz doesn't get the ball. How
Hi.
dare you besmirch his name?
bro, have you seen a Kyle Pitts? Like, Kyle Pitts probably could have had a touchdown last week if he like kept running.
Yeah.
I I don't know. He admittedly this fantasy season he's actually been going off a
He's
little
been
bit.
fine.
He's been fine. I have been in another league. I've been paying attention, but I also have Brock Bowers in that league. So, and Brock Bowers is actually on pace to break the rookie receiving record. By the way. So,
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Not receiving for tight ends, just receiving.
No, just receiving.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Brock
Dude's
Bowers
crazy.
is going insane. And they also just traded away their wide R1 in Devontae Adams to the Jets. So Brock
Yeah.
Bowers is the whole offense. And I think there's a good chance that he does just break the record that Puka Nacua set last year.
It's too much football talk. We need to get back to football.
Sorry, got back to
Bring it back
football.
around.
What
Back
I
to
want to
football.
know, what I want to know is, so Swood, you're clearly an Arsenal fan. Can you have
Yes.
9 potential Arsenal fans that could be listening to this? Can you try to convert us? What's the pitch? Give us an elevator pitch for why
That's
we
fair.
should be Arsenal fans.
I will say, I don't think
My
a
pitch-
single person pays attention to football in this league. So you are converting. You could convince a whole 10 people. You could turn this into a team of a whole squad of Arsenal fans. Like, just to give the
Brother,
full-
this is what I've been doing my entire life.
Right.
Nobody cared about soccer. So, my pitch for Arsenal would be right now I would say we're in the position, I don't know if people like the Niners. We're in the position that the Niners were in last year against the Chiefs, where we're kind of the team going up against this dynasty, and we're the team trying to knock them off the perch right now. And this dynasty, in my humble opinion, the Manchester City dynasty, they've been great. They've been incredible. I think it's one of the most soulless dynasties I've ever seen.
Whoa.
They're, not to use the word aura again, I think the aura is shot. To give a history of the club, they did nothing for 100 years, got bought by essentially the Saudi state, and just pumped money into the club, and now they're got the best manager in the world, ton of great players. They've won 5 titles on the bounce. And I don't care much for them, frankly. So we're the team kind of coming at their heels trying to get them. On a more team-specific level, we're kind of assholes. And I fucking love that. We have a team of beautiful men. Our team is unbelievably attractive. Pull up our manager. Pull up almost any player on our team.
Now.
I'll give you names if you want. Pull up Mikel Arteta. He's our manager. And tell me, beautiful or not beautiful?
Mikel Arteta. I looked up Arsenal team. I'll look up.
There are a few non-lookers in there.
That is a
Shit.
Ken doll of a man.
That's a gorgeous man.
He's a good-looking guy. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Look
He
up
looks like
Ben
he was
White.
made in a lab.
Ben White.
A beautiful Spanish lab.
I'll send these
Ben White.
pictures to Tyler to edit in, so these will pop up on the screen for the listeners.
Yes, that's a good looking
Thank
guy.
you very much.
Ben White. Okay, Ben White. He's not my type, personally.
He's got a bit of the fuckboy look, but
bit of a
Yeah.
fuckboy
it's a
look.
London look.
Clearly.
It's a London look. Calafiore. Just signed him.
I didn't do that.
I got him. Oh, he's got the hair. He's got the flow.
Oh, he's in style.
He is in style. He's like the George Kittle.
Yeah, but no,
He's a good-looking guy.
George Kittle looks fun. This guy looks hot.
Martin Odegaard.
Oh, we're still going. Okay.
And we'll pause it there. We'll pause it there, but look up Odegaard, and I think I forgot.
He's more your classic
All right.
classic handsome boy.
Classic.
A classic beautiful
Okay.
man, yes.
He's got
Yeah.
a jawline that could cut steel.
It makes me wonder
Beautiful.
what other soccer players look like that I'm comparing to. You know, I'm like, all right, that's a good-looking guy.
Do you want to see Manchester City's best player? Look
Yeah.
up Holland. Haaland.
Erling Haaland.
He's their best player.
That-
He's Sweden.
He's their best
Ooh.
player.
That looks like if Adam Merson had sex with a pig.
Oh, he's Norwegian.
And
Oh,
I mean,
God.
And you know who else was Norwegian? Martin Odegaard. And now you tell me, which one of those Norwegian men was more handsome?
Well, he's got my vote.
I mean, shit. Yeah, I mean, I see
We're
it.
beautiful. We're beautiful. We're shitheads. We're coming for the top. Unis look nice.
Okay,
I gotta say, I love the team.
okay, well, good. Now, but like the scoring, how much?
Oh my gosh, Josh.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
no. I expected this. I
yeah,
was
I'm
prefaced that we might be
here
discussing this.
because we need to
This is the
convince-
question. This is one of two questions I expected.
Tyler was gonna play hard ball. I'm sure. Tyler
Oh, really?
hates soccer.
I was
I'm a
waiting
softie.
for the diving question.
You were a
I was
softie.
waiting
I
for
was
the
gonna
why
play the
do
softie.
you-
Now I have to play the hard ball.
Oh,
like,
gosh.
Scoring. When I imagine soccer, I think like, all right, 0-1. What a game! Wow. Versus games going on right now that probably also ended and Chris Godwin's down on the field. They're bringing out the car. What the fuck happened to Chris Godwin? All right, whatever. We're talking about soccer.
Yes.
They just don't sound like exciting. 90 minutes of one score, you know?
Yeah, I guess I'll say this. You can get 8 at a time in football, which I think is misleading. So you do in terms of like total like getting like a 24-21 game. A lot of that is because you can score 7 at a time. But I do get what you mean, like a 1-0 banger of a soccer match,
Yeah.
right? Where everyone's like, oh my god, what an incredible game. I think that more so than in other sports, soccer has the most exciting non-goal events. So with football, I would think of a non-exciting or a very exciting non-score event as something like a 50-yard bomb that they get tackled on like the 20,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With soccer, I think that's happening several times a game, where you're getting shots, near misses off the post, crazy saves by goalies, last-second challenges by defenders. You're getting something that brings kind of like the excitement level of a goal more often than you'd think. Because I assume you hear 1-0 scoreline, and you're thinking, shit, they passed it sideways for 90 minutes, and then someone banged one in at some point. But I think it's a lot more events that are happening than a 1-0 scoreline would suggest. That would be my point. And part of it, and I don't think this would necessarily appeal to people who don't like soccer, and I think you just get this as you watch a sport, I love watching a play develop. So maybe you get a kick out of like pre-snap activities, seeing how the offense and defense adjust, how a play begins to develop. I love watching that shit in soccer. So I love seeing people make good runs, get into open space, look for passes, defenders making the appropriate compensating runs. I love just watching a play develop. Like, that is fascinating to me.
Nice.
Okay.
In addition to the near scoring events, or the just key important events, in addition to the goals. And what I will say is that it makes every goal feel monumental when it occurs. Like, if you can get if it's been a hard fought game and it's a 1-0 scoreline at the end, that feels incredible to watch. You can be like having a near panic attack the whole time. Like, I've been sitting there with a 0-0 game, 70 minutes have gone by, no one scored, and my heart is going 100 miles an hour. Like, it is racing the entire time.
I think as somebody who just watched a live soccer game this past weekend, it's weird because in contrast to all of the American sports, like there is no box score that can really tell us the story of a soccer game. You just kind of have to pay attention to it. And so if you don't pay attention to it, then you clearly won't understand like what the draw is.
Exactly.
It's a tough, it's a really
completely
tough sell for an American sport watcher.
Yeah.
I know, and I guess my best advice would be to go and watch it with people who already care.
Yeah.
And I think they'll kind of get you sucked in through the process. At least with everyone that I've gotten into soccer, that's kind of how it works. They see how intense it is for me, and I think they start to pick up on that intensity. And then you start to figure the game out, you start to figure the team out, and it all just kind of snowballs from there.
Okay. Shit, I'm way too impressionable. I'm like,
I know, dude.
it's like now I kind of want to watch soccer.
I know, and it's crazy because the way you were dressed for this podcast, I assumed this would be a Sisyphusian task of trying to convince a man in a flannel cutoff to watch some footy.
That's great.
I thought this was going to be near impossible.
Yeah, so Tyler would have been near impossible. I mean, the thing is, once I actually sit down to watch the footy, I
As they
will, as they say, I will probably immediately be against it. Because the thing I do love about football is when I watch football these days, I'm watching 4 games at a time. And you can just do that. You can pay. You can actually see like shit, something good, something interesting. Whoa, whoa, whoa! It is in a very American sense. It's a sport that it does have that stop, go, stop, go. There's like something like 11 minutes of football actually played in any given hour of football, and that's something that people quote as a derogatory fact, but I think that's actually one of the things I love most is that I can be like, oh, there's nothing happening right now. Chat, talk with people, and then get back in. And maybe soccer has a similar thing. It's even though the ball's moving, you have it on your own side, you have it on wherever. Timing is weird. I won't even get into counting up because why the fuck are you why? But
There's something that sounds cool about a 90th minute winner, though. I don't know. I love the way it sounds. However, I'll grant you that point. Silly and archaic, but
yeah,
I understand.
It's absurd. I can understand how that sounds cool, but
Eh,
obviously
I won't fight you on that one.
Yeah,
I won't fight you.
good. But I can see there's always an art in something once you can understand it enough, and I can see how I still think at the micro levels. I think football. There's no way soccer will ever get near football for me. football is something where you have, it's the greatest distribution of different like body types, different athletes. You have this fucking 350-pound, 6'4" guy next to a 5'10", 160-pound dude.
Next to Brandon Aubrey, who kicks
Yeah.
things as
Next
opposed
to Brandon
throwing
Aubrey,
things.
who just walks up and kicks a ball.
Yeah,
And they're-
if we want to count punters and kickers as players, yeah, there's no argument there. I will say, I think something interesting, and not to cut you off, but I am going to cut you off. I think while there is like a wide distribution of body types in football, at least from my understanding, is that the positions themselves tend to have the same body type. Like, you're never going to get a skinny offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to get some twig boy playing O-line for the Patriots. You're going to get some good, beefy American boy. He's going to play linebacker for your team. I like the fact that in soccer, you can have different body types who just play the exact same position in a totally different way. So, like, your man up top can range from 6'7" to 5'7", and you can be equally effective as a team. For example, the greatest soccer player of all time, this little 5'7" Argentinian kid who can just run circles around everyone. Arguably, the next greatest soccer player of all time is, I believe, 6'2", absolutely chiseled, beautiful Portuguese man. Very different body types, played basically the same position, played it pretty differently. Number 1 and number 2 in their sport.
I will say, there's variance in positions in football as well, to a good extent.
Definitely.
Like wide receivers, you have people like A.J. Brown, who's just, I'm going to bully these people, and I'm going to catch the ball. And then people like Tyreek Hill, who are 5'11", 5'10", 160 pounds, and are just like, hey, I'm faster
Is he
than
that
you.
short?
Oh, he's not a big
Yeah,
guy.
he's not a big guy at all.
I know. Yeah. Same with running backs. Devon Achane, 5'9". Like,
I have no idea. I know he's small.
he's a small guy. And Derrick Henry, who I think is like 6'2" and will run through you.
Okay, but all you've done here is prove that Dolphins players are short.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
that's
They're
the
really
only thing
small.
I'm taking away. They've just got short guys in Miami.
And you have your quarterbacks of different play styles of, your guys that sit in the pocket, have a really good pocket pass, and your runners. It does add different styles, and it really makes teams. You have Anthony Richardson, who, Sam, you think you're gonna drop Anthony Richardson yet?
No, I will not.
Yeah.
But I will probably end up dropping Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's fair. Anthony Richardson,
Ah.
who has completed over 50% of his passes maybe once. But goddamn, he's a fit dude. And he'll just run the ball as a quarterback, even though he can barely pass. And Russell Wilson, who can throw moon balls that somehow get caught. Can't move as much. He's an old guy. Actually, what's the age range in soccer? What's like the age that people
There's
retire?
no,
in
there's
soccer?
no like entry limit in terms of age, right? Like
It's
teenagers
16.
fully just go. Oh, it's 16.
It's 16 because I think that's when you can legally work. Like, I think it's the same rules as McDonald's. If you can lace up the apron, you can get out there on the pitch. So it's 16 to start off, and then depending on the position you play and what league you play in, I mean, a goalie can go until 40 easily. But you can say the same thing about kickers because it's not a very physically intensive position. I would say that most players will, or most star players will end up around 35, 36 until they at least need to drop out of the top flight because they usually won't retire at that point. Because with the NFL, it's kind of the NFL or bust.
Yeah.
They'll go play in the U.S. or
Yeah, like
Saudi Arabia.
Messi signed with Miami somewhere.
He signed with Inter Miami 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was the end of his professional career for all intents and purposes.
Lol.
He's just collecting Apple TV shares right now. It's
Alright.
it's nice.
Honestly, God, I hate that I actually kind of like want to watch football or
Dude,
soccer.
I'm so in. I'm a lover of things, so it didn't take very
I
much,
know.
but I already
That's
knew
the
I was
issue.
in.
I really needed the cynicism of Tyler for this.
I'm sorry, dude. I can't do it. There's
Nah,
not a
dude, I
cynical.
love your optimism. But, like, it was a rough match for my optimism.
I know. I know you're also a lover of things.
I love the things.
You
Uh,
like things.
I like to like
I
things.
like
It's fun.
things.
Uh, man.
Can you get Tyler at the end of your re-record to just give like a 3-minute rant on why soccer sucks, so
Yeah.
that we can like bring
Yes,
this
I would
down
love
a
a
little bit?
rebuttal.
Hey, I've tried to rebuttal, man.
I fully
I would
can't.
love a rebuttal. However, if you can edit this at the end of the rebuttal, I would be delighted.
I will.
Wrong. Wrong. That's all I want.
All right, noted. Well, I won't
Damn.
keep us up too much longer. Honestly, this discussion of soccer went on a little bit longer than I expected, but it was interesting. So,
Mhm.
thank you for that, Steve. Now,
Happy to help.
I am curious, do you have any more I want to hear a little bit more about your team in that, like, who did you keep this year? Just to get back to fantasy football to end this. Who did you keep this
Yeah,
year?
yeah, and I did want to defend my boys because I do love my
'Cause
boys.
I want to hear, like, are you looking like you're going to be last place? That game's ended, right?
Yeah. Marvin Harrison has once again shit the bed.
And, yeah, you
Um,
lost. And
Or do I?
Chris Godwin has dislocated
No,
his
no,
ankle.
it's-
That's, oh man, I have him in another league. Oh, that's my
Sucks.
dynasty guy. Okay, fuck. Anyway,
Yeah, I'll defend my team. I only kept Jordan Addison. The rest of my team last year, the only good players I had, I got off waivers, and we did not have the keep players off waivers rule last year. So I only kept Jordan Addison. He has been up and down. But to defend my boys, well, first I'm going to throw several boys under the bus. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trevor Lawrence to an extent. Frankly, you have been bad. And I'm very disappointed. And I kind of think you stink a little bit. However, if you turn it around, or if anyone wants to trade for them, they're good guys. In defense of my team, I think I did great later in the draft. Although they shit the bed this week, Jaden Reed. I love Jaden Reed. And I got him. I picked him up in our Sigma Pi league last year. He balled out for me, and I had Christian Watson in this league last year, and he stunk. He royally stunk. So I was like, if I combine those two pieces of knowledge, I would like Jaden Reed, please. Jaden Reed has been very nice.
There you go.
Drake
Sound
London
logic.
very
started off kind of stunk. Very good so far. My tight end situation may be the greatest tight end situation in the history of fantasy football. I have a top 3 Cole in the league. I believe he's a top 2 Cole in the league now, actually. I have a top 2 Cole in the league. Mark Andrews just popped off. And I have the Big Hawk coming back in a week or two, who should also pop off, and I got in the 15th round.
I think people want to know who. Can you name the top 1 Cole? Can you name the other top 2 Cole?
Well, let me put it this way. I can't name a single other Cole in the league. However, I wanted to give myself a little berth because I'm lacking the knowledge, and I'm working off of
But you can
a
assume.
one Cole situation where I cannot know the ability of my Cole and the other Coles in the league without disrupting the whole system.
I see.
It's kind of a photon situation here, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
All I know is that my Cole is popping off, and there's no way there's another 2 Coles better than him, but there might be one. Ramondre Stevenson, up and down, but all in all, not bad as a backup running back. Him and Madison. Madison is from what I can tell, from not watching the games and looking at box scores, he's the number 1 running back in Vegas.
He is.
That's not
He
too
is
bad,
now.
if you ask me.
That would seem.
I did have my sweet Prince, Rashid. May he rest in peace,
Yeah.
but I believe He was like the number 15 receiver. Never played him, but he was the number 15 receiver there for a little while.
He was
Very
good for a
nice.
minute.
I will say, Charbonnet, not relevant now, was like RB10
Had-
for like 2 or 3 weeks there while Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker was out. Jalen Polt, he stinks.
yeah,
So
dude, the drops have been
that guy's
insane.
getting cut. I was hoping with it being May season and
I
all,
know.
he would pick it up a little bit. He is not.
He specifically did not pick it up.
No, he's done the opposite, if anything.
The drops have been wild. But, yeah, hey, there's a lot of season left. And if
I
I'm
agree.
looking at the divisions right now, you are in a position where you could come back. I mean, the guy that is in second place, I guess it is 3 games ahead of you, so you have a lot to go.
That did stick.
But at least you're not in the same division as Victor, who is going to be the only one at 6 wins. And oh man, fuck that guy. But
Yes, and I've actually noticed a little weak spot about another member of my division. One G-Wall Pro has consistently not filled out his lineup every week, which gives me fantastic confidence that even if Tank Dell continues to put up 0 points, that doesn't quite matter. Because by having an empty slot, he's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
So-
G-Wall Pro.
He's very catchable.
I really do wonder. He will be a guest on this podcast soon, and I mean,
I need you to get answers.
we're just gonna shit on him a lot.
I think he's in the league
Right.
to dance.
Yeah.
I think he just wanted
He
to
likes
to
dance.
Hey, some people
It's a
love
dan-
it.
and he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, some do it for the sport, some do it for the gambling, some do it for the glory, some do it for the dance. He just wants to be on YouTube, man.
He's a star.
He's a star. But all right, I won't keep us up much longer. This honestly went a good bit longer than I expected, and we've all got to sleep.
I'm so tired.
I know, me too, man. I don't know how the editing went down, but me and Tyler will be somewhere in this podcast. Thank you, Steve, for joining us tonight. Thank you for talking to us about your pseudo-Brit ways. And thank you, Slosh, for coming in and replacing my color commentator, Tyler, with your football knowledge that Steve couldn't quite fulfill. But
You didn't like my breakdown of Marvin Harrison Jr.?
he sucks, I get it.
He kind of stinks a little bit.
He
He
stinks
sucks
a
a
little bit. People thought he would
He's a
be
little
good,
stinky.
but now he's a little stinky boy.
And just because his name's
He's
Marvin
a
Harrison,
little stinky.
Just
everybody was like, man,
Marvin
that guy's gotta be good.
If that guy was named something like, I don't know, Brock Bowers, he'd probably be good at football. That's
like
a
to think.
football name right there.
That is
If I had to hear the name Brock Bowers, I would say, wow, oh, wow. That man's probably going to set the record for receiving yards by a rookie in a season. That's
Wow.
what I would
That's
think.
what I would
he's
assume.
a stat guy.
He's
Stat
a
guy.
big football guy. He is not a looker.
Is he not?
Look up Brock Bowers.
Look up
He
Brock
is a
Bowers.
meathead if you've ever seen one.
Brock Bowers is. He also does not talk.
No, he's a weird guy.
He's a weird dude. Does not talk about.
It doesn't
his
look like
life.
he can.
But goddamn, can he play football? And that's it.
Yeah, keep this man off Arsenal. Not good enough. Not a looker.
Doesn't have the hairline for it. But
Not even close.
all right, that is all for this episode. Maybe it's not. But
What an episode.
Tyler's
It was
gambling
one-
corner will probably come after this. So I won't even say bye. I'll just say, on to you, Tyler.